If you're over 60 and skip this video, you might lose up to 30% of your leg strength in just 5 years. That's not a threat. That's medical reality. I've seen it happen too many times in my practice. Patients who once walked miles without thinking twice now struggle to climb a single flight of stairs. Their legs shake, their balance falters, and the fear of falling becomes their daily companion. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell to receive the best health advice from us. I want to know if you're following along with this video. If you find this content helpful, type the number 1 in the comments. If not, type 0. Weak legs aren't just about movement. They're about independence. When your legs give out, your life shrinks. You stop visiting friends. You avoid grocery shopping. You become a prisoner in your own home. And here's what most doctors won't tell you. Once you lose that muscle, getting it back is 10 times harder than keeping it in the first place. Your body enters a vicious cycle. Weak muscles mean less activity. Less activity means weaker muscles. And before you know it, you're dependent on others for things you used to do without a second thought. But here's the good news. Science has found a natural way to rebuild strength. 1 cup at a time. I'm not talking about expensive supplements or complicated exercise routines that leave you exhausted and frustrated. I'm talking about something ancient, something gentle, something your grandmother might have known, but modern medicine forgot to tell you about. Tea therapy. Not just any tea. Specific herbal blends that target inflammation, circulation, and muscle recovery at the cellular level. Over my 40 years in medicine, I've watched patients transform their lives with these simple remedies. People who couldn't walk to their mailbox are now gardening. Folks who needed help getting dressed are now dancing at their grandchildren's weddings. And it all started with understanding which cup to drink and when. Stay until the end, because I'm going to reveal one hidden ingredient that's been proven in clinical studies to restore balance and vitality in ways that surprised even the researchers. This ingredient works differently than anything else you've tried. It doesn't just mask symptoms. It rebuilds from the inside out. And the best part? You probably walk past it in the grocery store without even noticing. Your legs carried you through life. Now it's time to give them what they need to carry you forward. Picture this. A golden tea swirling like sunshine in your cup. Steam rising with a spicy warmth that promises something more than comfort. This is ginger turmeric tea. And it's not just beautiful. It's a science-backed healer that targets the root cause of weak legs in people over 60. Let me be clear about something. It's not your age that's stealing your strength. It's inflammation. Silent, chronic inflammation that attacks your joints, your muscles, your entire musculoskeletal system. Every day, inflammatory molecules called cytokines break down muscle tissue faster than your body can rebuild it. And when inflammation lives in your joints, every step becomes painful. Every movement requires twice the effort. That's where ginger and turmeric work their magic. Ginger improves circulation. Think of your blood vessels like highways delivering oxygen and nutrients to your leg muscles. When those highways get clogged with inflammation, your muscles starve. Ginger contains compounds called gingerols that act like traffic controllers, clearing the pathways and ensuring nutrients reach where they're needed most. Studies show ginger can improve blood flow by up to 20%. That's the difference between shuffling and striding. Turmeric brings the heavy artillery. Its active compound, curcumin, is one of nature's most powerful anti-inflammatory agents. Research published in the Journal of Medicinal Food found that curcumin can reduce inflammatory markers as effectively as some prescription drugs. But without the side effects, it calms the cytokine storm that's eating away at your muscle tissue. It protects your joints from further damage, and over time, it allows your body to focus on rebuilding instead of constantly defending. Here's how to make it right. Use fresh ginger root. About 1 inch. Slice thin. Add half a teaspoon of turmeric powder. Simmer in 2 cups of water for 10 minutes. The key is adding a pinch of black pepper. Without it, your body absorbs almost none of the curcumin. With it, absorption increases by 2,000%. That's not a typo. 2,000%. Add a touch of honey if you need sweetness. Drink this every morning on an empty stomach. Let the warm liquid coat your throat. Breathe in the spicy aroma. Feel the heat spread through your chest and into your limbs. This isn't just hydration. This is medicine delivered gently, naturally. Dr. Harold Benton, 68, from Texas. Used this blend after a knee replacement left him weaker than expected. 3 months later, he walked 5 miles without pain. He told me, "It gave me my mornings back." That's the power of the golden healer. If your legs give out halfway through the day, this tea is your quiet comeback. You start the morning feeling okay. Maybe you even accomplish a few tasks. But by noon, your legs feel like lead, your energy crashes, and you spend the rest of the day in a chair, frustrated and defeated. Sound familiar? This is about stamina. And ginseng green tea delivers it in a way that feels natural, not jittery. Let me explain how this works, because understanding the science makes all the difference. Ginseng, specifically Panax ginseng, has been used in traditional medicine for over 2,000 years. It's called an adaptogen, which means it helps your body adapt to stress and maintain energy balance. The active compounds, called ginsenosides, do something remarkable. They improve how efficiently your cells use oxygen. When your muscles get more oxygen, they work longer without fatigue. Studies in the Journal of Ginseng Research found that regular ginseng consumption increased physical endurance by up to 30% in older adults. Green tea adds a different kind of magic. It contains a modest amount of caffeine, enough to increase alertness, but not enough to cause the jitters or the crash that comes with coffee. More importantly, green tea is loaded with catechins, particularly EGCG, a powerful antioxidant that protects your muscle cells from oxidative stress. Think of oxidative stress like rust forming inside your muscles. EGCG prevents that rust, keeping your cells young and functional. Together, ginseng and green tea create steady energy. Not the spike and crash of coffee, not the artificial buzz of energy drinks. Just consistent, reliable vitality that lasts from morning until evening. Your muscles get the oxygen they need, your cells stay protected, and your brain gets a gentle dopamine lift that keeps you motivated to move. Here's the perfect preparation. Brew 1 cup of quality green tea at 175 degrees Fahrenheit. Add half a teaspoon of ginseng powder. Steep for 3 minutes. The slightly bitter, earthy taste is normal. You can add a small amount of honey, but don't overdo it. Sugar defeats the purpose. Mary Lewis, 72, a retired teacher from Oregon, calls this her afternoon miracle. She told me, "I used to need a nap by 2 o'clock. Now I'm walking my grandkids to the park and keeping up with them." That transformation didn't require willpower. It required the right fuel. Try replacing your coffee with this tea for just 1 week. Notice how your energy feels different. More grounded, more sustainable. Your legs will thank you. You might think weak legs come from aging, but stress quietly breaks down muscle too. And most people over 60 carry more stress than they realize. Financial worries, health concerns, loss of loved ones, caring for family members. This constant stress floods your body with cortisol, a hormone that, in chronic excess, becomes toxic to muscle tissue. Let me explain the mechanism, because this is important. Cortisol is designed for short-term emergencies. It mobilizes energy by breaking down muscle protein into glucose. That's fine when you're running from danger, but when cortisol stays elevated day after day, it never stops breaking down muscle. Your body literally cannibalizes itself. Even worse, Chronic cortisol suppresses testosterone, even in women, and testosterone is essential for maintaining muscle mass and strength. Stress also disrupts sleep, and without deep, restorative sleep, your muscles never fully recover from daily use. You wake up still tired. Your legs feel heavy before you even get out of bed. It's a downward spiral that's hard to escape. That's where ashwagandha comes in. This ancient Ayurvedic herb is one of the most researched adaptogens in modern science. Multiple clinical trials show that ashwagandha can reduce cortisol levels by up to 30%. It doesn't sedate you. It doesn't numb you. It simply helps your nervous system find balance. And when your cortisol normalizes, your body stops breaking down muscle and starts building it again. Ashwagandha also improves sleep quality. Research published in the Journal of Ethnopharmacology found that participants taking ashwagandha experienced significantly deeper sleep and woke feeling more refreshed. Better sleep means better muscle recovery. Better recovery means stronger legs. Here's how to prepare ashwagandha root tea. You can buy the dried root or powder at most health stores. Use 1 teaspoon of powder per cup of water. Simmer for 15 minutes, because ashwagandha needs heat to release its active compounds. Called with analytes. The tea has an earthy, slightly bitter taste. Add a cinnamon stick while brewing to improve flavor. Drink it in the evening, about an hour before bed. If your goal is better sleep, or drink it in the morning. If stress and anxiety are your main concerns, feel the warmth settle into your stomach. Notice how your shoulders drop slightly, how your jaw unclenches. This is your body switching from fight or flight to rest and repair. Over weeks, you'll notice muscles that were chronically tight begin to relax. Legs that felt tense all day start to feel looser, more responsive. This tea doesn't give you energy like caffeine. It gives you resilience. It gives you the calm strength to rebuild. A deep red cup that strengthens your heart while lighting your steps. That's hibiscus tea. And if you've been ignoring it thinking it's just a pretty beverage, you're missing one of the most powerful circulation boosters nature offers. Your heart pumps life to your legs. That highway of blood vessels, arteries, and capillaries must stay open and flexible for oxygen-rich blood to reach every muscle fiber in your calves, thighs, and feet. When that highway gets clogged or stiff, your legs suffer. You feel cramping, weakness, cold feet, numbness. These aren't just annoyances. They're warning signs that circulation is failing. Hibiscus works through multiple pathways. First, it's loaded with anthocyanins, the same compounds that give blueberries their brain-boosting reputation. Anthocyanins strengthen blood vessel walls and improve their flexibility. Think of your arteries like garden hoses. Over time, they get stiff and brittle. Anthocyanins keep them supple, allowing blood to flow smoothly even under pressure. Second, hibiscus is rich in vitamin C, which your body needs to produce collagen. Collagen isn't just for skin. It's a critical structural protein in your blood vessels, tendons, and ligaments. Strong collagen means strong connective tissue, and strong connective tissue means stable, supported legs that don't give out unexpectedly. Third, multiple studies have shown that hibiscus tea can lower blood pressure as effectively as some medications. High blood pressure damages the delicate inner lining of blood vessels, leading to reduced circulation over time. By gently lowering blood pressure, hibiscus protects your entire circulatory system, ensuring your legs get the blood flow they desperately need. The preparation is simple but important. Use dried hibiscus flowers. About 2 tablespoons per quart of water. Boil the water, then pour it over the flowers. Let it steep for at least 10 minutes to extract the full anthocyanin content. The longer you steep, the deeper the color and the stronger the effect. Some people steep for up to 20 minutes. The tea will be tart, almost like cranberry juice. If that's too intense, Add a slice of orange or a stick of cinnamon for natural sweetness and flavor. Drink this cold or hot. Depending on your preference, many people find the tartness refreshing, especially in warm weather. Feel the vibrant color energize you just by looking at it. Imagine that red pigment flowing through your arteries, cleaning and strengthening as it goes. In Florida, many seniors use hibiscus tea as a daily ritual to stay active. It's inexpensive, it's delicious, and it works. Your heart and your legs work as a team. Keep both strong with every sip. You've just learned about 4 powerful teas that rebuild your legs, restore your balance, and renew your energy. Ginger turmeric for inflammation. Ginseng green tea for stamina. Ashwagandha for stress and recovery. Hibiscus for circulation and heart health. Each one targets a different piece of the puzzle. Together, they create a complete system for keeping your legs strong and your body moving well into your 70s, 80s, and beyond. Let me summarize what these teas do for you. They reduce the chronic inflammation that breaks down muscle tissue. They improve blood flow so oxygen and nutrients reach every cell in your legs. They balance stress hormones that steal your strength. They protect your heart and blood vessels from damage. They help you sleep deeper so your muscles can repair overnight. They give you steady energy that lasts all day without crashing. This isn't magic. This is biochemistry working in your favor. Now comes the important part. Knowledge without action is just information. I want you to commit to something I call the 2-week tea challenge. Pick 2 of these teas that resonate most with your symptoms. Maybe it's inflammation and pain, so you choose ginger turmeric. Maybe it's energy and stress, so you go with ginseng, green tea, and ashwagandha. Whatever your choice, commit to drinking them daily for 2 weeks. No skipping days. No making excuses. Keep a simple journal. Rate your energy level each morning on a scale of 1 to 10. Note how your legs feel when you first stand up. Track how far you can walk without discomfort. After 2 weeks, look back and see the difference. I promise you, if you're consistent, you'll notice changes. Small at first. Maybe your legs don't ache as much in the morning. Maybe you make it through the afternoon without needing a nap. Those small changes compound into major improvements over time. You don't need a gym membership. You don't need expensive supplements with ingredients you can't pronounce. You don't need pills that come with a list of side effects longer than the benefits. You just need a warm cup and a little faith in your body's ability to heal itself when you give it the right tools. Here's my final request. Tap the like button if this video gave you hope and practical solutions. Share it with someone you love who's struggling with weak legs or low energy. Maybe it's your spouse. Maybe it's a neighbor. Maybe it's a friend from church. This information could change their life the way it's changed countless lives in my practice. Start your tea reset today. Here's to stronger steps, calmer days, and a healthier you. Starting with your very next sip. You've got this.